Hello, everyone. I'm here to talk to you today about my evidence one, my evidence two. This one is about how the popular culture and comic books from the Marvel Universe reflect changing United States mores. So, first, to talk about this and to kickstart the conversation, first we need to understand the problem. So, when I was doing the investigation for all of this and doing the research on the iconographic sources that I was being present, that I wanted to do this for, I noticed that there were three main problems that I could realize. First, I wanted to establish that this is going to be focused mainly on Captain America. Like, a big section of this is going to be focused on Captain America and Iron Man, representing a clash of cultures and ideals of the American man. Then we're going to talk about the sectors that are being left out in this conversation of superheroes and who takes the lead. And then we're going to talk about what message is being conveyed through the things that are reflected through popular culture in the comic books from the Marvel universe. So to start, we have Captain America and Iron Man, and they represent very different ideals for the modern man in United States. There are different lectures which are mainly from starting with Aiken when she starts writing on how comic books are being used to teach United States history. Captain America is being placed or portrayed as the ideal man of the 1940s. He's white, he's tall, he's strong, and he's basically a super soldier, and he represents the first Avenger, and what he fights for is for freedom and the protection of rights, which is ideally everything that the United States would want or aspire to be. But then we have this other place, which is Iron Man. He represents the genius billionaire philanthropist playboy, and there's a really sense of irony in the fact that his superpower is also happening to be, in some cases in the films and in the comics as well, the main source of the problems, in which there were instances where there were a fight on terrorism. His weapons were being used in ways that were not like intended to, which it really reflects on how the United States and the government there have been known for having similar experiences with the illicit trafficking of things and the war on terrorism. These are themes that have been played and have been portrayed in the Iron Man films. So when these two men meet there in Civil War, we can see in the film, at least I can interpret it in that way, that we can even see there's a certain type of like, both of them are kind of be could be the villains, in the fact that the theme of that is there are consequences to conflict, and we have seen this historically in the United States, and we have seen it on Europe, and we have seen it like in most aspects that this film is inspired of in history, whether it be the World War, whether it be like with the creation of the United Nations, whether it be with the like the terrorist attacks of 9/11. All those things make up for the conflict, right, and civil war, which is that no one is really truly right. If we see the Captain American side of the story, he represents in all his team is aiming for not being compliance of these international organizations, which when we see it also happen, it has also happened in the fact that there have been countries, and there, especially the United States, that has withdrawn from these initiatives. But also we can see the other side when there is this willingness to be part of these solutions. Nevertheless, it isn't particularly like the most aligned with how we have been acting. For example, here in Iron Man, and that there's a really distinct dichotomy, and it represents what we have seen in class, the clash of cultures, because there's the ideal thing that this portrayal like of the 1940s of Captain America, what a man, an American man should be and look like, with this one that is like a more modern version of what the American man should do and be, which is like more aiming towards business ambition and like profit. It's a really complex thing with both of these characters, which we can like. It would be better to make another separate video for this. Um, but now we're going to pass on the problem number two, which is what are the sectors that are being left out. So the problem here is that they're alongside the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We can see that there are little to no representation of women, black and indigenous people of color, and LGBT community. Throughout this phase, this historical like context that we are seeing, like here on the characters that are being analyzed, the heroes, we're seeing that there is in the main Avengers one woman in the team, and it really represents how there's a lack of diversity. But when we look at the newer face of the Marvel universe, the new faces and the new characters that are being there are more women and there are more people of color. We can see that there was the Falcon, which is a partner of the of Captain America, and he is like he's an African American man. And then like we're still going there in the aspects of the LGBT community. Nevertheless, it's getting there. And then with the messages, and finally, the third thing that I think that I wanted to address is the message that's being conveyed. So I think, or what I can interpret from this, is that first there was there was a sense that the United States was the main place for things to take place. The message was that the United States is the main playground, everything happens there. And maybe that's something that as a society, when events like 9/11 happened, and when they started taking action in the wars that took place when this was created, there became the sense of responsibility for the United States, like as a nation, to step up and go there and be willing to accept the responsibility of fighting and protecting the rights and freedom of everyone in the world. Which is quite interesting now when we analyze that specific period of time, but we compare it to how nowadays with Iron Man and Captain America gone, there is this new phase and this new generation of superheroes that are not fighting in the United States. They are fighting for the universe. They are fighting in another plane of things, which is really representing how the United States and the world in general is being more driven towards a globalized way of working through things and working through problems, especially with global problems are currently happening. Collaboration and having things like Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame really represent how when people come together, there can be great things that can be done to really like profit out of things. And finally, to give a brief recap on and close off with gender perspective, I think that of course Captain America and Iron Man really represented a phase and a generation of how back the United States was back then. But right now, when we're looking at how the United States has changed in its mores, we're seeing a lot more representation. We have characters such as Captain Marvel and Wanda Maximoff, which are strong female characters. Of course, there's this part that the audience has not been willing, there has been a sector of the people that see this and have not been willing to welcome these heroines as they deserve. But that really also reflects the fact that historically it's been really difficult for women to be able to take up space and claim the power. Yes, I meant that, that they hold. So when we look at all of these things combined, there's really a hopeful outcome for how the United States has portrayed, like before with Captain America and Iron Man, like what was it to be an ideal man, American man, and also to right now with this newer generation, like diversity and inclusion and collaboration, which are like really, it's really hopeful and good to see that there is this like representation of changing mores in like popular culture through the Marvel universe. This was my very first time doing this, and I'm really excited to do more. I really enjoyed it, and thank you very much for being here and listening to, for all of it.